I would like to introduce to you Helene Swanson from Katrina's Dream.
I'm going to be a little bold. First, I don't like podiums. That presents a barrier. I'm not about barriers. I'm about opportunity. First of all, the Equal Rights Amendment is not an amendment just for women. It's for men as well. 70% of all sexual discrimination cases these days are filed by men who are trying to get into women-dominated fields. So this is about an opportunity for this nation to step forward. And it's about an opportunity for Nevada to lead the way. Now, I come from San Francisco, and we bring business into the area. We bring business into the area because we're known for social justice activism. We're known for social justice activism because we spearheaded the gay rights movement, and we're also spearheading what's taking place here. Why? I can say this. Well, I started from the Golden Gate Bridge, and when I started off, I have the National Organization of Women who have endorsed and sponsored the walk. I have Code Pink that have endorsed and sponsored my walk. I have the Occupy Foundation that have endorsed and sponsored the walk, and I've been quite successful in my work. The reason why I'm successful, and I think this event is an example of this success. Yes, it's small in numbers, but it only takes 10% of the population to create a movement of change. So when you look here today, you don't see a lack of numbers, you see the appropriate number of people that it takes to get things going. Let's do the real math. And I call this the Jesus principle. Why do I call it the Jesus principle? Well, I'm an evangelical Episcopalian. What is an evangelical Episcopalian? We're very far and few between because Episcopalians are known to be staid and laid back. But this work comes to me handed down from a generational clergy class. When I say generational clergy class, okay, I'm going to get tangential. Yes, I tend to be tangential. I used to work in the legal field. I worked for an attorney by the name of Melvin Belli. I was in charge of his PR and his office management. So I was asked by my late mother-in-law, the Reverend Katrina Martha Van Alstyne Wells Swanson, whose family was involved in the beet purchase of New York City, who also had a great-great-grandfather who gave the first black man communion in Mass, and was later had her family almost tarred and feathered. So we go back a long way in setting social trends in this country. I inherited this legacy because she looked at me and she said, my women, the women of my generation, failed you. When we reached a certain place, we dropped the ball. The ERA died. Some people don't like me using that word, but yes, the ERA died. And these women let it die because they thought they had reached a level and they bought the promises of politicians who said, oh, it's okay. Don't worry, we'll have the Lily Ledbetter Act. Oh, we'll have this act, we'll have that act. We'll move forward, Title 14 and all the rest. But they mean nothing. Why? Because Duke's University, when women started testing high, have now lowered their admission standards so that men can still come in equal and unproportionate numbers. So why is healthcare really at risk? It's not about abortion. No one really cares about women's getting an abortion. It's because it's the only thing that's not protected in the Constitution is women's healthcare, because that's a sex issue. It's a gender issue. So don't be fooled by the rhetoric, because that's rhetoric. That's politicians' talk. What is the real reason why they can attack women's rights? Is because sex is an unprotected class. In the 2011 case of Walmart versus Dukes, 3 women sued Walmart in California, where the Equal Rights Amendment is constitutionally guaranteed. They won. Walmart kept appealing, goes up to the Supreme Court. What happens next? The Supreme Court, Justice Scalia and the crew said, sorry, we wish we could help, but you sued under the wrong class action. You sued under sex gender, and there is no constitutional guarantee for that. Had you filed your case under another action, we would be able to rule with you. But there is no ERA. Yes, the ERA died in 1982 when it failed to get the additional 3 states necessary. It was a dead issue. Some people go, oh, it's not, that wasn't dead, it was just stalled. No, it was dead. We saw no movement on it. The only person to introduce on a regular basis every congressional session was Senator Ted Kennedy. He introduced it and tried to keep it alive, but no one wanted to go forward. There were so many promises being made. It looked great. Blacks were now empowered, just as men and women will be equally empowered. And I've been told, and I agree with this one, stop using that phrase about balancing the playing field. This is not about lefty talk or righty talk, Democratic talk or Republican talk. This is about what this country stands for. Our forefathers had genuinely intended to create a new and powerful concept, but they were stuck in their ways. Just like in the 80s, we got stuck in our ways when it died and we said, it's okay. But this is a new wave. This is the third wave as known in the women's rights movement. I don't call it a feminist. I'm not a feminist. I'm a woman's liberator. Why? Because I don't abide by all the feminism rhetoric. I'm not about female superiority and males are this. I see what's really taking place. Why are men so forced to be so dominant? Well, hey, if you were going to go in the draft, wouldn't you buy into the rhetoric that you're allowed to rape because you're going to die tomorrow? This is sublime, passive behavior that we're facing. We're talking about men who have an unfair burden placed on them, as well as women who have an unfair burden placed on them. It's very hard when I hear about women who are welfare mothers. Well, I think they're doing the math right. If I had a choice, and I had children, and I was a single parent, and I started adding up what my benefits would be over here, versus going out to work, where I have no subsidies, and I'm not going to get equal pay, because there's no guarantee that I can get it, I'm going to do the math. I'm going to stay at home. I'm going to be a good mother. And if I'm a man, guess what? I'm going to tell my wife, you know what, honey? You stay at home, let me make the money. Why do you think men are dying prematurely? They die prematurely because of the unfair burden placed on them. Why are women living in poverty when they get older? Because they haven't paid enough in their social security system. So it's really about balancing the playing field. It's about bringing equality and empowerment to both sexes. It's so that when your children grow up and they look at dad, that they feel okay when dad's crying. Dad's not a weakling for crying. He's human. He's human when he cries. He shouldn't have to hold it in so that the stress builds up and he winds up getting cancer or a heart attack because he has to put a brave face on every day, wake up and do unreasonable work hours because his wife can't make the same money he can. That would change. All these things would change. And so it's sublime. Yes, we use phrases like Mother Earth. Why is she Mother Earth? Because it's okay to rape her? Is it okay for the environment? So all these are sublime, constant, passive reinforcements. So the Equal Rights Amendment is not going to just balance the playing field for men. It's not going to just balance the playing field for women. It's going to allow us to take care of the planet. And as a Christian, I see it as it's an opportunity for Eve to be restored alongside her rightful place alongside Adam and bring back paradise. And as in St. Augustine's book of the City of God, our acts on the planet Earth are meant to bring upon paradise here on this planet so we can realize our place in God's heaven. So this is really a moral issue, and I have no problem mixing with religion and politics. There is no separation of church and state. It's separation of specific established church. So I'm reaching out to all members of faith to step forward. I'm asking for Jews, Muslims, Christians, pagans, everyone to see that this is an issue of empowerment, balancing of the planet, an opportunity to restore the system the way it was designed, whether you believe in creative design or evolution, it's really the same thing. We're here to work together, and this is our opportunity to move this nation forward, the planet forward, and bring us truly into the 21st century. That's all I gotta say. Wait, I gotta end this with one joke. It's a bad one. Is it a legal joke? It's a legal joke? Okay. So I'm gonna go with my legal joke. When I started this work about 10 years ago now, oh, and I'll backtrack. I won't end it with the joke. I'm gonna stop the joke for a second and go to why we feel God has called us to do this work. Our organization is, my name is Helene de Boissiere-Swanson. I'm a founding member of Katrina's Dream. Katrina's Dream is a very small organization in the Episcopal Church and the Anglican Communion. We work currently here in the United States to promote the passage of the ERA, as well as the abolishment of the death penalty. In India, we are charged with forming a new political party to protect the rights of Christian Muslims and Jews as they've been stripped down over the last 47 years through their constitutional amendments. And in Botswana, we have the program Think Tank Sudo, which is orphanage to university. So on the night my mother-in-law died, she was one of the first women to be ordained an Episcopal priest in the Episcopal Church, making her group of the Philadelphia 11 the first women to be ordained priests in the 21st century, in these modern times. She knew that I worked for Melvin Ballet, and he was a crazy old fart. Okay, I'm telling you, nothing like working for an egomaniacal maniac who has a great mind. Okay, and he had a great mind, and he taught me how to think outside the box. So she said to me in that year that she was dying of cancer, Helene, if there's anything you can do to revive the ERA, that would mean a great deal to me to ensure the future generations to come that there's truly peace on earth. And during the ordination, the FBI had followed the family around because there were so many threats on their lives. Just like today, there's threats on abortion clinics. And so she did not like TV, she did not like radio, and the phone was barely used. And she was dying in the kitchen because we set up her bed there. And we all were sleeping on the floor beside her, and she passed away. And during the hours that she was passing away, my father-in-law said to me, and my husband, kids, what are we going to write in the obituary? Where do you want the flowers and donations sent? And all I could think was, well, what was she been asking us all the last year of her life to do? That was to pass the ERA. I said, let's find Katrina's dream. So the next morning, I called up my oldest boy, Bobby, and I said, Bobby, I have some really bad news for you. And he said, oh, Mom, I know. Grandma's dead. I went, oh, how could he know? Well, this is maybe an arrogant teenager talking. I've been an arrogant teenager. Who hasn't been, right? And I went, how do you know, Bobby? And he goes, well, it's simple. He says, there's this hurricane. It's called Katrina. It just hit New Orleans. Well, why is New Orleans important to this? Well, it's very important because when my father-in-law, she traveled off to Botswana, Africa, on a parish exchange program, she was very happy being a middle-class wife who had gone to Radcliffe to get her social work degree, was there to support her husband in the priesthood. That's all she ever wanted. But while she was in Africa, she observed that women in Africa were being forced to give oral copulation to the priests in order to receive communion. And it made her think, wow, if that's what they're doing there, what are they doing in America? So she came back with a bee in her bonnet to become one of the first women priests. So while they were in Africa, she took up the dulcimer, he took up the banjo. And when they retired in 1998, the album they produced of his CD banjo playing music was City of New Orleans. So our first sign was Katrina the Storm, because her parishes were in African American urban parishes, because no other parish would accept her, and her salary was $1 a year. New Orleans, well, we all know what America did for everybody in New Orleans, primarily people of color. That was a prime example. That was our other message. And our third sign is a little tiny flower that can only be found in the Amazon jungle. It traveled up on the tailwinds of that hurricane, and it landed in the back house in Maine. It has only 3 petals on it. They're all white, and that's the Trinity. So for me as a Christian, there were signs from God that we were on the right path. And I can tell you, doors have been opened, and this event here is a beautiful event. Everyone here is going to go out, and once again, I said I'm tangential. That's my spatial thinking. So let's do the math. I'm going to ask everybody here today, the few that are left who don't get to hear this, but they can tell the people that weren't here what I said. I'm sure they will, or maybe they won't. But let's hope that you do. So I'm one person. My goal, walking across the United States, I'm covering 15 of the states that have not ratified, is that I'm going to reach 10 people on this walk, and I'm going to inspire them to be as inspired as I was by Katrina. Now, I will help you with my skills, because everybody's entitled to reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. I give out my number everywhere. Call me. I've got connections. Yep, got them. Okay. You call me, and I'll say, okay, now you find 10 people. Now, teach those 10 people to find 10 people. and then teach like in a multi-level marketing. Yeah, we could almost use the word pyramid scheme. We're in Las Vegas. Okay. Sorry. But let's be real. 1 times 10 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. 1,000 times 10 is 10,000. 10,000 times 10 is 100,000. 100,000 times 10 is 1,000,000. Can you imagine if we all just dedicate ourselves here today? If I've inspired 10 people here today to be as dedicated as I am. No, you don't have to do the walking, but all you've got to do is look within your immediate network, your immediate family, your friends, your coworkers, your next door neighbors, putting up a little sign in front of the Safeway, the Smith Food King, the Albertsons, going in front, gathering signatures. And of all those signatures that you gather, you're going to find somebody who's going to be as dedicated as you are to this cause. And with those simple principles of 1 times 10 times 10 times 10, we will quickly be at 1,000,000 in no time flat. And that's all it's going to take is that 10, and then applying that 10% of the population is all we need to get this change going. So now the dumb joke. Okay. So I have to tie this in. Why? Because, okay, I'm a Christian and I like to show that science and God are one. It's the last day and that everybody has decided the most important issue on the planet Earth to bring upon world peace is to decide whether or not it's creative design or evolution. Halfway through opening arguments of the first side, creative design, the judge gets very excited and says, "You're right!" The juror takes note. Now it's time for evolution to get up. And again, halfway through opening arguments, the juror says, "You're right!" No, sorry, the judge says, "You're right!" Now the juror is very confused and says, "Your Honor, I don't understand. You said creative design is right, and now you said evolution is right. And this applies to the Equal Rights Amendment too. How can this be?" Very simple. It's a win-win situation. Thank you.